Well, welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neal, and I'm joined by Gordon Shoemaker, filmmaker. He's got 10 shots playing at Shriekfest. It's very exciting.
Yes, indeed. Oh, very much so. So, yeah, we're playing this Saturday, 11 a.m. Riley Studios. Looks like we have a awesome block that we're a part of. Should be about an hour and a half, I think, of short films. So, yeah, very excited.
Yeah. Are you going to be at Shriekfest?
Very much so, yes. I'll be there. A bunch of people from the film will be there. Our lead actress, producer, director of photography. It'll be a great group.
Have you had a chance to see it with an audience before?
I have. We were able to. So, obviously, many of the festivals that we attended were during the pandemic years. And we were able to do a drive-in screening at Screamfest in 2020, and that was very special. Otherwise, it was all virtual, to which there were pluses and minuses. I think the minus, obviously, is clearly the festival experience is being there with people. But the plus was all those Zoom events and Zoom hangouts different festivals were doing was also like a really neat way to just get to know a lot more people. And it was so, yeah. Plus and minus.
Yeah. People, did the best they could during the time.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so it was an interesting time, but still very happy. We've done a lot of cool festivals, and now really looking forward to Shriekfest because this will be the first time we're back because they postponed it. They didn't do 2020, and I think that was a great idea to just wait to do the whole big normal festival. So I'm very excited for that, for the back on the red carpet again. That's going to be great.
Now, looking over your other work, you're not necessarily, a horror filmmaker.
No, not necessarily, but I'm more and more so. So an interesting question. So I love all sorts of different genres. I've never ever saw myself as someone who's going to work in just one, but I would say that fantasy itself, and the fantasy in the largest term is what I love because I did 2 short ghost movies, and again, ghost movies that they weren't scary as such, but one was a drama, one was a poetry short, and again, I'm still in that realm of the fantastic, and I could also go off on a whole thing that I sort of believe all art on some level or another is fantasy, even if it's just a photograph of a real moment. It's only thing that's real is your reality, and even a photograph that's a fantasy because you can't freeze time. Mm-hmm. And so horror and thriller are very much a part of my life. My first feature film is going to be a horror film.
Oh, nice.
And I think that and we'll be shooting that also here on the farm. One of the things that really has drawn me more and more to horror thriller is particularly in lower budget scenarios, you really get to fly as a director because it's such a maybe this sounds cheesy, but I find horror thriller to be a director's genre in a big way because so much of the effect comes down to your camera work, your pacing, your tone, your mood. And I'm so enamored with movies that they'll make you so tense just with 2 people talking in a room. And it's all about the social tension, the scenario. And I think that it's just an excellent place to grow. And that's what excites me.
Well, a few things there. I said you build the tension, with a couple people, you can do that in a horror movie. Your movie has no dialogue at all. So it's not even 2 people talking. It's basically almost almost 2 people, but there's a few other people, but still there's no dialogue.
Yeah. And so for 10 shots, for anybody, I guess, who's listening to doesn't know, briefly, 10 shots is a no dialogue short. So no 10 shots, no dialogue short, in which it's about a hunter who goes out into the woods, gets up into his tree stand, and he's looking around for a deer, sees a deer kind of disappears into the foliage, falls asleep. There's a hunter falls asleep, and then he wakes up to the sounds of struggle, looks through his scope rifle, and oh my God, it's a hostage situation. People are dragging people out in the middle of the woods to execute them. And and he has limited ammo. He has 10 shots. We saw that in the very beginning of the movie. He loaded in 10 bullets, and now he has to make a decision. Is he going to intervene in this situation? Is he not? And without giving anything away, he does decide to intervene, but as he continues to become more and more part of the situation, he sees maybe he wasn't intervening on the correct side of this, or who knows? Mm-hmm. It's very much up to, I mean, I have what I believe and what I think is going on, but it's not totally about that from this movie. I've had a lot of diverse reactions and thoughts on what is going on and what it means. I really, really like that. That's one of the powers of doing something no dialogue.
Yeah, that's in my notes, the mystery of what's going on. I like that too, especially in a short. You know, you kind of dropped in somewhere. You know, you don't necessarily know any background, and then you don't really know too much. You know, maybe at the end either. And I like something that's left up to your own personal, take on it, what it all meant.
Yeah. So and again, an attention there that I wanted to explore is just purely the visual attention. What does it mean to have to make choices based only on what you're seeing, not having all the information, and what does it mean to be punished for that? Yeah.
So when you script something like that, what's a script look like? And when you approach people with it, and it has no dialogue, what do they think initially?
Well, so when I approached people with the script to 10 shots, or because my feature film very much is dialogue, but
I figured.
So the short film, it's sort of a funny story. I was actually the man who decided to take this project on and be our executive producer, a wonderful man who'll be there at Shriekfest, Andrew Scrivani. At first, when he was he was looking for some shorts to be working on, and I came to him actually with some comedies, and I was sort of pitching to him some comedies, and that I thought were hilarious, but were not his cup of tea. And I was like, but he and I were already friends at the time. And it was like, and he's like, well, what else are you thinking about? And I told him, like, well, I wrote this sort of as an exercise of like wanting to do tension with no dialogue. I kind of wrote this exercise, and I told him the story, and he was just really into that. He's like, all right, like let's talk about this. And so this movie was made with a grant actually from his company with a man named Giulio Vincent Gambuto. They had just done a wonderful Italian family comedy called Team Marco, which you can rent and stream. It's like just they, like me, were all over the place. It's from a Italian family comedy to a thriller short, but that's movies, But so that's how that odd path came about. How
about the actors when they see the script?
Oh yeah, that's an interesting one. So for the auditions, I actually wrote real dialogue for people and created scenes that do not appear, backstory scenes before these events that do not appear in the movie. And so part of the audition process was that. And then part of the audition process was still just doing pure visual exercise, or just walking them through scenarios. But the actors love it. I mean, again, it's a short. I never had any like, ooh, I don't want to do this because no dialogue. I didn't have any of that. Everyone was usually very excited. Yeah,
I would assume it's just a different challenge of acting.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and definitely a challenge for our lead, Ray Samick, who played the hunter, because he had a very odd scenario where we had one full height tree stand for some shots, and then we had one like much shorter where Ray could sit, and we had the camera up on we used a scissor lift for the really high shots, but for just filming him, we had it lower. And we walked him through everything he was seeing. And that was an interesting experience because, again, we couldn't recreate everything that was going on right in front of him. We had to just talk him through what he was seeing. So that was definitely a really unique challenge for him to work through, but he did a fantastic job. yeah, I mean, in so many ways that was a rough task he had. We're just yelling at this happens, now this happens, now this happens, and he has to cry or be furious or scared, and we're just like, now this, and he's like, all he's looking at is just a film crew standing there, like, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
almost like green screen in a way.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, pretty much.
Yeah. Had you worked with either of the main actors before, Ray or Lindsay?
No, I had not worked with either of them before. No, I had not. Ray had been on. He was one of the part of the Bocce team on Team Marco that I mentioned, the Italian family comedy feature. But no, I had not worked with them before.
Mm-hmm. So, what interested you first in horror? You said you watch all kinds of things.
Oh yeah. So what interested me first was, oh man, how far back do we want to go? My God. Well, I won't go too far.
I watch all kinds of movies too, even though this is for this.
Yeah. So I would say what interested me first was basically what I said earlier, that I was so drawn to the idea of the director having such a big impact, and that is such a thing of thriller horror. More so, I may say at this point, maybe I don't know. I would say at this point, I think it's maybe the most directory genre. Does that make any sense? Because again and again, you see so much effect come from what does it mean to move a camera through a place? What does it mean to sit with something? What does it mean to take your time going into a location? When does it mean to go out of this location? And because I mean, the script can just say, you know, she walks into the house, and in many genres, she just walks into the house. But in horror, what does it really mean just to walk into that house? What does each textural moment mean? And that really drew me in when I was very, very young. So I know it's kind of an odd answer.
Did you know when you were young, like this is what you would like to do?
Exactly. And ideally, oh my God, ideally, I'd have $200 million making huge fantasy epics. But, early on, I was curious, just everything else in the world of the fantastic. And you often see grouped together, you see fantasy, sci-fi, and horror grouped together a lot. And when I was really young, I was always like, okay, fantasy, sci-fi, they seem so far beyond. Let me look more and investigate horror. What does this mean? Because I was like, okay, so horror, people do this, they do this, and they don't have a whole lot of money. And yet they're still dealing with the fantastic. They're still dealing with myth and the occult and the ancients. And it was like, ooh, okay, this is cool. Yeah.
So what were some of the first movies that don't even have to be horror, but that you were watching, you're like, this is something I would like to do eventually?
Super cliche answers out of the gate, So I started with a ton of Stephen King. I loved The Shining, and kind of, as it's probably super cliche. I would branch out more in college. Actually, that's when I started to see a lot more. I remember when I watched the original Suspiria, I was like, oh shit, okay. And that's that I got, and that's also because two of my good friends were like big horror nuts, and they introduced me to a lot. And then it all kind of, as I said, branched out from there. And eventually getting things to, my absolute favorite Netflix series, and maybe just series is Haunting of Hill House. And again, that's more recent, but Hill House, I'm a huge fan of. Recent
new
stuff
show's really good too. Mike Flanagan's new show, Midnight Mass.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that yet. Okay.
Yeah, it just started.
Nice. Okay. And then, I got real big into Hereditary, Midsummer, and then of course, Lighthouse and The Witch. And like, I really was, because I'm such a history guy, and I love that, the way that the dialogue was treated in The Witch, the way dialogue was treated in The Lighthouse, and embracing, styles like that most people are usually so freaked out, like, oh my God, you're going to lose everybody if you start talking and the dialect of the 1600s. Like, no, not at all. You can do that, and it'd be so much more texturally deep and fun and fascinating. And then I've studied just a ton of like low budget and lower budget thrillers that you just find on streaming services. I love The Invitation. Again, just a bunch of people go to a house party and it's like, what's going on here? You're expecting a thriller, and every little moment is tense and uncomfortable because it's like, everybody's so nice. Is it cold? Everybody gonna get murdered? Is the main character just kind of crazy and seeing shadows everywhere and nothing's really wrong? Anyway. Yeah.
Well, that's the good thing about horror too, is there's all different styles of movies. So, some people love gore, some people love kind of schlocky stuff, but you can watch really well made. Not that those aren't well made in their own right, but you can watch a really well made, thought out movie too. That horror or thriller or whatever.
Yeah. And then I love, I also just love campy good times. I mean, I love The Babysitter, stuff like that.
Really depends what kind of mood you're in, I think. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. So that's sort of that rambling answer. I know it was all over the place.
It's a lot better than when people say yes or no. And then that's that hasn't happened too often, but it does.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Gotcha. And by the way, congratulations on the wedding.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. We just I guess now Saturday before last, we were out, and they can't really see it, but in the woods behind me, also where we shot 10 shots and where I had my wedding.
Oh, nice. That's kind of weird, but yeah.
Good. Yeah. No, but actually, so the clearing where we had everybody getting, shot and murdered in the movies. Also, we I cleared out some more of the dead wood in there, made it a bit bigger, and put the aisle in, and it was perfect. So it's just a very handy dandy clearing. Yeah, and I'll use the clearing again for my horror feature too. So it's
cool.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much you can talk about the feature, if you like the basic idea or anything.
Well, I guess it's so raw. I still sort of workshop the idea, or how to discuss the idea so much. But it will be a, okay. I have to phrase it correctly. I have it written down how I have phrased it. But so in essence, it is about a young woman who returns to the home that she grew up in, where her estranged father still lives. And so in some ways, it's kind of, a little bit of a more tropey setup at first. And she's very much convinced that when she was young, there was this presence that came from the woods, visited the house. And it's this fear that, even though now she's older, she thinks this is probably just an irrational fear, but she's come back to this house to face it. And she, without spoiling too much, very much believes that this presence, this creature, is capable of killing with claws and teeth. Like a beast, like something from the primeval age, and just hunting and killing the way that we're supposed to, And she wants to go out and look for this thing. And her father says, okay, well, if you're so convinced that this thing is real and you think that that's how you could kill you, claws and teeth, put on a suit of armor so it can't get to you. And he's kind of joking, but she's like, well, maybe that's not a bad idea. So she gets a suit of armor. Now she's going out into the woods. And her dad tells her, well, don't go out there with a weapon that can be used against you. Because if you go out there with a shotgun and this thing takes it away from you, your armor's useless. Go out there with the sword. So suddenly this bizarre, horrific, dark, new age Don Quixote starts unfolding as this millennial starting to become more and more of this medieval knight to face this creeping darkness that is coming more and more into her life, and conjuring up all the questions and trauma and difficulties and evil in her past. So that's a very rambling, not exactly punchy little one-liner, but that's what happens.
Cool. So when you were making the shorts, I'm always interested, it sounds, why do you make shorts? So was the idea like you're making shorts and then you hope, to eventually make a feature?
Well, so,
or just to make,
yeah, yes and no, I guess. There's definitely that's a classic route people talk about, particularly in horror, is make a concept short that then someone will go, oh, this is so scary. And because that's happened before. It wasn't my plan with 10 shots. I wouldn't have wanted to make a no dialogue feature film in the same sense. I would say the goal with the short is just to make movies and to learn, to grow. And especially for that one, I wanted to do something that was much more advanced in terms of the stunts and action sequences and effects than I'd done before. And that would prepare me. I wanted to be more and more prepared for a feature. And I never expected that I was going to have, oodles and oodles of cash for my first feature. I always knew it was going to be a low budget affair.
Yeah.
Figured, and so the, yeah, that's just kind of like, and it did. I feel as though seeing how much for a 10-minute movie, much of which is an action sequence, a gun battle. And I mean, I'd say so far we did really 2.5 shooting days. 2 shooting days where we had everybody together, and then a half day that was smaller skeleton crew doing pickups. That first day of filming was all just the action sequence. I mean, a full 12 hours of, again, applying the makeup. Like, okay, now someone, boom, they're shot. Now, okay, stop. Now, next shot, they have to be dead on the ground. So you take all the time to get makeup done. So it's like, you see just how much goes into that, how much time. And for something that, with my feature where I'm going to have some more complex moments, I really wanted to be prepared and see what does that mean, and not, because again and again you see in the indie world, because you never have enough money, you never have enough people. Even though I have a great team of people I work with, so easily I've seen on sets I've worked on and sets I've been a part of, et cetera, that things can fall apart. When you get behind and you get flustered and mistakes happen. And so it's like, I really wanted to be prepared to, as I said, I want to be so focused on getting what I want to get and not feel as though I'm out there like, oh crap, we have to change this again because this fell through and this didn't happen. And, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I like that the shorts have kind of risen in popularity. I think a lot of it's the festivals and also, more platforms. It used to be once they ran through the festival scene, they just kind of disappear. But now, people can post them on YouTube themselves, or they can go, on Amazon and all these different things. But I also like the idea that whatever story you're going to tell, it should just be that length. So if you have like a 2-minute story, if you have a 40-minute story, because we've all seen movies that are probably a good idea, but they're clearly been padded out to be 90 minutes when they need to.
Right.
Some magical number,
Yeah, and so this will be going up on so Screamfest. Screamfest has a YouTube channel, and they offered for us to be part of that. So I think we'll be going up probably after we play at Shriekfest. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's exciting.
It'll be on the Screamfest after Shriekfest.
Screamfest after Shriekfest. Yes, indeed.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. By the way, you're in Pennsylvania, right?
Yes, indeed.
So, most people think if you're going to make movies or get involved, you have to move to LA or maybe New York. But so, is there a big film community in Pennsylvania?
Maybe. I don't really know. So I went to film school at USC. So I was met a lot of the guys I still work with and there. Still will fly them out here for things, but then I was in New York City for a long time. Again, did more work there. So I've sort of met a lot of people there in Los Angeles and New York that I can just draw from.
Yeah.
But in Pennsylvania, yeah, I'd say that there is a community, particularly in Philadelphia, which I'm not that far from. The more and more you get outside the city, of course, the less and less. But it is here. I mean, it's kind of everywhere. Film's sort of everywhere these days. Yeah. And, I'm getting, and I think through this feature and through screening around here, I've gotten to know more and more of the community. I had a music video that I did that was at Philadelphia First Glance. And that was a really neat moment to see just how vibrant the Philadelphia film community was. I'm been, especially on 10 shots, we were drawing a little bit more from local crew. We get people from New Jersey, Philadelphia, New York. It's all, and because it's all kind of close around here. I mean, my farm here is only like 2 hours from New York City, an hour from most places in Jersey. So that's kind of what we pull from. But yeah.
What were the movies, not even horror, but like that you just were watching and like that got you hooked into movies?
Well, there's sort of two stages of that. Again, the first one, I shouldn't say cliche, but more common. I mean, as a kid, you see Lord of the Rings. Oh my God, you want to do that. So I grew up with,
just real quick while I'm thinking, anytime I interview anyone in New Zealand, they've all worked on Lord of the Rings. I just think Peter Jackson must have he just hired the whole country.
Because I heard, maybe it's true. I heard a statistic that when Lord of the Rings was filming in New Zealand, it was like the single largest employer in the country. I don't know if that's true.
I'm kidding. Every time, even I'll interview people from Dead Alive, which is like an 80s horror movie. Yeah, and they've worked on it. It's pretty wild.
Nice. But yeah, so I grew up with Lord of the Rings and Independence Day and Men in Black, a lot of fantasy and sci-fi, and then also a lot of history movies, a lot of war movies, from things like Bridge Too Far and so forth. But I then got into a big stage in my teenage years, really, really big stage of falling hard in love with Federico Fellini and Fellini movies. So that was kind of in that stage that then opened me up to my my love of Italian cinema, which my favorite director is Paolo Sorrentino, who did Great Beauty and Young Pope, New Pope. In some ways, he's kind of this sort of spiritual continuation of that, the Italian spirit of Fellini and others. So that's kind of that path.
So you said you had a video at a festival before, a music video, I guess it was. So,
just one, one. Yeah, I've only done one music video. Had a great time. Would love to do it again because I learned a ton. I learned a lot. I think I would love to do it again. One of my best and closest friends, a man named Powell Robinson, who's our DP on this. If you look him up, you'll see how many music videos he shot. If you've seen a music video anytime in the past few years, you've seen something he shot. Music videos are fun. I think you just need to know more people making music. I don't know enough musicians, I guess.
Yeah. And, where do the music videos go today? I grew up with MTV in the 80s, but sure. Do they go primarily online or?
Yeah. I think it's kind of because the artist whose music video I made is also my best and oldest friend, and he just wanted a video to help promote him and what he was doing, and so we did that, and that was a while back when I was doing a lot of kind of doing more shorts, because I'd done my first short and we'd screened that in like 2018, if I'm remembering all this correctly. And then I just wanted to start shooting more, and he knew that, so we did a music video and did some other shorts, and just keeping the train going.
So can you just talk about, in your opinion, what are the importance of getting your film at a film festival and attending a film festival?
Sure. Well, definitely, if you can, attending a film festival for as much as you can is the most effective way to get a lot out of the festival experience. And I'd say of the festivals I've been to, I mean, I've been well over 20 by this point. And if you can spend a lot of time there, get to know people, get to know the other filmmakers, your art will improve, your understanding of yourself will improve. And you can find more collaborators and so forth. Definitely, the festival scene is a hard thing to navigate because there's so many. It seems more and more every year. And they're most of them are some good people doing some good stuff. You kind of hear and kind of see along the way some that are a little bit more scammy. It is a thing.
Unfortunately, because you have to most of them you have to pay to submit your film, and then that does but my experiences are mostly good, but I understand you have to look out for the ones that are just wanting to look for some money.
And my experiences have also been mostly good. A few interesting ones as well, but I think there are times I wish particularly some of the really big diamond tier festivals. I do wish some of their submission fees were not so high for shorts. Right. I get it again sometimes for features. I don't know if that made any sense or not, but I think there are times for shorts where you sometimes see those high submission fees. It's like, okay. Remembering they must know, again, they're not stupid. They probably know that most people submitting are going to be strapped for cash, but and they're probably strapped for cash. So it's a whole cycle, but it's just a wish. But a lot do well with, if you ask places for, why am I forgetting what they're called? Flyers or just fee reductions. I don't know why I'm forgetting the exact word. Places have done those before. Some places are great. Like there's some festivals that just by reaching out to them the question, they're like, sure, and they give you an answer. They can here's 15% off, like that kind of stuff, which is really nice. But I'm sure. I don't know. I feel as though some of those really big festivals might be able to bring it down just a little bit. Right. A little bit. I'm sure they probably would open up their financials. Look how much we pay for, but some of their sponsors are huge. But I don't know. What do I?
Yeah. I won't name any, but I totally agree. And for me, obviously the big festivals you're going to be seen by a lot of people, and I get all that. But for me, I like I don't want to say smaller, but the smaller. I like the one screen festivals because there's something about watching everything with everybody. And also, I've noticed some of the ones I've been to a lot, they have the same community that comes every year, and they're very supportive, and I like that. And what I was talking about earlier, just for people out there who want to make something and they think, well, I don't live in LA or something. You probably, if you look around, you have some people that are into films that it's like a community that you could make something with.
100%, and as I said, it is everywhere now. Even though I have spent time in Los Angeles, New York,
because you can always get there eventually, even if if you want to, or you can just make stuff for fun or whatever. But it's always a good start, because if you just keep thinking about never do it, then it's just never going to happen.
No, but also too, again, as I said, every single year that goes by, it's more and more everywhere because of everything with the access to material and et cetera, et cetera. It's just I think that if someone is in the absolute middle of nowhere, it doesn't matter, because that's cool. Maybe people aren't shooting right there in the middle of nowhere, so it's going to automatically, you're going to be set aside as different, as opposed to the 9 millionth New York apartment movie or the 9 millionth Lost in the Desert LA movie. It's like, so balanced everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I've asked people, I get varying answers to that. People who moved to LA and glad they did. And then some people, so I went there and then he said, like, you can go buy a burger somewhere. And the guy making, serving you the burger is also a film director. So
pretty much
it's a humbling experience for some people. So.
Pretty much. Yeah. Then so I was getting there for 4 years. Loved the people in Los Angeles. Could never live there long term because of my deep psychological connection to seasons, and not having seasons was not for me. It messes with my head too much.
Yeah, I was out there right before COVID for a movie in the middle of winter, right during Christmas, and it was a very bizarre experience being from New England.
Yeah.
I remember it did rain though, and everyone was like freaking out that it was actually raining.
Oh yeah,
I didn't understand. Who cares? But it was like the end of the world because it was raining.
Yeah.
It was weird though because it's a stupid story, but the Hollywood Boulevard was super slippery. I could barely walk on it. It was raining. And then my friend told me it's because it's so dirty. When it rains, all the oils come up. And I laughed. He's like, no, I'm serious. That's why. And I was like, oh.
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I remember my first December in college, and there's people out in the quad at USC sunbathing. And I was like, my mind just starts melting. It was like, this doesn't make sense. Like, no, what is time? Where am I? What's going on? But yeah, so that was odd.
Yeah.
But again, also particularly seasons, because this is a farm, this is a working farm, and every season has so much rich flavors and scents to it. And I mark my progress through a year, and my movement through life is tied to seasons, and a new season is a new beginning. A season ending is a time to reflect, and without those, I know some people just love that LA sun, but to me it was just this glaring timeless monotony. It was like another day of just the same thing. I was like, whereas there's really not 4 seasons here. There's 12. There's like 3 sections to every season. And I love so much of the way that the wildlife here changes, the way the food changes, and the way our flowers change, etc. Anyway.
No, I'm with you. I grew up in New England, and I'm here. So, Shriekfest, 10 shots this Saturday. Yeah. It's very exciting.
Yes, indeed.
And where can people follow you to see what you're up to? Not like right there where you're living, but
yeah, I do Instagram a good amount, so I'm just at Gordon Shoemaker, and that's GORDON Shoemaker, SHOEMAKER. I'm a shoemaker, not a shoemaker. I make them, I don't mock them.
That's very nice of you.
Yeah, it's very nice of me. Yeah. But so I Instagram a lot. I have a website, GordonShoemaker.com. I keep pretty well up to date. But yeah, those are probably the best ways. I know I need to use Twitter more, I'm sure, but I've never been great.
I probably should use it for the show more, but I'm not a big fan of it. But yeah. So those places, and again, then 10 shots will be up on the Screamfest YouTube sometime soon. I don't know exactly when. Pretty soon, and and then again the feature. Well, who knows where that will be? It'll be interesting. Go follow you now, and you can follow the journey of the feature.
Yeah. Look forward to the trailer. It's going to be a cool trailer. It'll be more cogent than whatever rambling description I tried to give.
That'd be wild if it wasn't. I would be interested in just a big rambling trailer.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
No, I thought it was a good description.
Cool. Because I describing describing a feature film that hasn't been shot yet is a strange experience because you're going through drafts, things are changing. I don't want to, because the thing about horror is that there's a lot of twists, and describing something without giving away twists is not something I really know how to do.
Yeah, a lot of trailers don't know how to do that anymore.
A lot of trailers don't know how to do it, and so there's a lot I'm holding back. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll get there. We'll make it. And I feel very good about what I'm planning. So yeah.
Very cool. This has been very fun to talk with you.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. You as well. Cool. And we'll perhaps we will do it again sometime.
Yeah, when the feature is on its way.
I'll be there. We'll be at the fest, keeping it going.
All right. Very cool. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You have a good one.
You as well.
Take care.
I'll have this up in the next couple days or so.
Sounds good. See ya.
Yep. Bye.